All right, welcome to Module 6. This is all about Google Ads, and what we're going to be focusing on this is, again, setting up our remarketing audiences. And again, Google Ads refers to this as remarketing, whereas the other platforms regard this as retargeting. Same concept. What we want to do is we want to enable our website to essentially bank the visitors who come, check us out, but we want to be able to put ads back in front of them. So there's a couple things that we need to do in order to get started, and let me just walk you through exactly what we're going to do. So first, what we need to do is we need to connect our GA4 account to our Google Ads account. Then what we're going to do is our Google Ads account really runs off conversion. So if we're running ads, it needs to understand, like, what is this endpoint? What is this thing that we're trying to do? Well, we created a conversion in our GA4 analytics yesterday. So what we're going to do is we're going to import that in as a conversion. And that's going to really allow Google Ads to then serve ads to people and know if it's doing a correct job. But that alone is not remarketing or retargeting. What we're going to do is we're going to have to go into GTM and create a remarketing tag. From there, we're going to have to go back into Google Ads and grab something called the Google tag to make sure that we can remarket and retarget these folks. And then what we're going to place on there is also a conversion linker tag. A conversion linker tag is essentially something that that Google uses. So if you visit a website, let's say on a desktop, and then you visit it back on mobile and you convert there, what it does is kind of tie everything together, so it gives you a better idea of your attribution. Then we'll go in and we'll actually create some GA4 audiences, and then lastly, we're going to focus on UTMs. Google's a little bit different as far as UTMs are concerned. We can import a standard template that just goes across the entire account, but we have to tweak each campaign, I shouldn't say that, each ad group and each ad just a pinch to make sure that we're actually pushing through those UTMs on that. So there might be a few other things that we come across during this time. Now, what's interesting about this is I started recording this whole Remarketing IQ course 2 days ago, and I log into Google GA4 today, and the UI has changed. So luckily, like none of the logic or none of the foundational things that we have taught in this course so far have changed, but I said this at the beginning, and I think I've said this throughout, like there's always continual updates. And so it's not going to really change anything that we do, but it might take you a moment to get used to the new layout, which again, I logged in and I saw this. I thought, this is perfect. I didn't say this is perfect, but you get the idea. This just happens and we have to adapt. And that's what makes us good at marketing and running ads. So here we go. Let's dive into this. So we're going to go back into our GA4. And yesterday, this was a list, and now we have all of these several boxes, but luckily I don't see anything really that different. But this is what we're going to spend some time on, is connecting our Google Ads account to our GA4 account. Now, I already have a Google Ads account created. If you don't have one, it's like the easiest ad account to set up. Google will, I think, force you to create a campaign. Go ahead and do that. Just make sure you pause that campaign as soon as you create it. Otherwise, it's going to spend money for you. It's good at getting your money and spending for you. But I do want to mention a few things before we go forward. So to the people who are interested in e-com, in our Facebook course, we talked about the Facebook module. We talked about the Facebook catalog. It syncs up with your Shopify inventory, and it pulls your inventory into something called the catalog. And then the catalog is connected to your Facebook ads, and that allows you to run your remarketing ads, which are dynamically pulling the products from that in order to put in front of people. The Google Merchant Center is the same idea. So if you want to be running Google Shopping ads, you need to have this Merchant Center kind of sit in between your Shopify store. And your Shopify store pulls all of these items into your Merchant Center, and then your Merchant Center is connected to your Google Ads account. So if you want to be running shopping, or if you do want to do dynamic remarketing, this is how you would do that. Again, I'm not going to spend any time on this just because this is pretty self-explanatory and it's not that difficult. But yeah, if you want to be doing Google Shopping, you're going to have to knock this out. And we've seen such a significant improvement in PMAX and shopping campaigns this year that I would highly recommend it. The last thing that you might want to consider that I'm not going to show is something called the Google Search Console. So a Search Console shows you which organic queries are actually leading people to visit your website, again, organically. So if you have an idea of a search query or term that you really want to win with, this might be a good spot to get started just to see how people are getting to your site originally. Now, in order to do this, again, there's probably tons of different tutorials online, but essentially you're going to be able to connect that through your Google Tag Manager as well. At least that's what I would recommend. So, all right, I think that's it. Let's play around with connecting this to our Google Ads. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Now, unfortunately, I have all my other GA4 properties connected to a Google Ads account. So we're going to kind of see both of the conversions in there, but this will still work. So I'm going to click on Google Ads. We'll link this, and then I will choose from this. And I know my account ends in 2284. And so we will just hit confirm. We'll hit next. This looks fine. We want to leave it all enabled, and then we will submit. And it is that easy. That is created. If you want to see if it's connected in your Google Ads, then you're going to go to your Google Ads account, and then you're going to go to your tools, and you will see, actually it's an admin under linked accounts. And so you should see, this is where we line up a lot of stuff. So if you want to, connect your YouTube account to your Google Ads, if you have, if you're running some CRMs like HubSpot or Salesforce, this is where you would do it as well. So let's go ahead. This is the one that I'm after. And again, there's going to be a couple different pieces in here. So GA4, we will see there's our Hacktics RIQ, and we want this. And so it is active. The app and web metrics, I'm not going to speak to knowing exactly what the web metrics are. I'm going to do a little bit of research on that, but I can't speak to the app. So the app metrics are something called Firebase, and this is important because it can still lead to remarketing. I'm just trying to stay focused here. But what Firebase is essentially Google Analytics that lives inside of your app. So if you're a software company right now, I'm speaking to you. And the way that Firebase works is it syncs up with your events that are firing within your app. And so an event would be like install, right? First open. And then if you have something within your app where people are creating an account, you would have create an account, or add the payment. That would be another one. Where this comes very useful is because this Google Ads Firebase can tie into your Google Ads. You can run Google app install campaigns, and you can actually optimize towards the event that you want. So normally Google app install campaigns just focus on getting somebody to install, but we all know that install is not somebody who's actually going to become a user. So you can use your Firebase and say like, hey, I want to optimize towards this complete registration event or payment event, and Google Ads will then optimize towards that. And so that's, I believe, is what we're kind of referring to as far as these app metrics are, just making sure that our data is feeding and pushing back to Google Ads so that you can optimize what you are trying to go towards in your app, and not just installs. You can actually optimize for further on or deeper down the funnel. So okay, so I've showed you how to connect this. I've showed you how to connect this from the GA4 side. We've verified that on the Google Ads side. And now what we need to do is we need to import that conversion, because ultimately, just like Facebook or just like TikTok, like we did before, we need to really isolate that event that we want to focus our campaign on. Otherwise, we're just spending money, and Google Ads doesn't know what it's trying to do. It's trying to learn what we want to do, so we need to import this conversion in from GA4, and then that way, when we start running campaigns, Google knows what it's trying to really optimize for, like I said. So we are going to go to Tools, or maybe it's Goals, Conversions, and let's just go to Conversions. I think it's under Summary. All right, so here, this is where I would normally pull in this conversion, but I already did actually before I started doing this just to test, but I'll show you how to do this. So you would click Import, and then we will go to GA4 Properties. Again, here is this app for the Firebase. We're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with Web, and then we'll continue. And so this is where we just pull them all in. We will select one, and then import it. Like I said, I've already done this, so this is where you would find it, and then let's back out and I'll show you where these actually live. So under Summary, I'm finding the story selling opt-in right here. So I know that it's pulling in and it's active. Now let me look at the settings real fast, and we can just walk through a little of this. So I'll click Edit Settings. The value, again, just like on everything else, we could put in a value if we want to. If this is a primary, if this is more of a different name, if I want to categorize it differently because we saw it in secondary, then I could say that I want to say that this is a submit lead form, or I could say sign up. Again, we can just create this how we want to. Let's do submit. I don't know if I like submit lead form. We could do a contact. Again, this is just a demonstration, so it really doesn't matter. Let's just submit form. Let's submit form. But sometimes the lead form is, as far as like a lead form, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. On Facebook and on Google, you have these lead forms where people don't actually have to visit your website. So I don't want to misconstrue that with actually this, but I do want to make sure that this is a primary action though. A secondary action would be, they do something and then they do something else. But if I'm running conversions, I want to make sure that this is actually optimized as a primary opt-in. So the count every conversion, if this is just a 1, I'm going to change this to, like, if this is somebody opting in, that is just one time. If this is a purchase, then you would do every. So we do need to switch that to 1. And then I'm going to leave the click through and the engage window the same. And then you can select which different attributions that you can click if you want last click or data driven. What last click will do is it basically gives all the attribution to the very last click. So if somebody, if you're running multiple ads and they come in contact with your ads multiple times, what Google is going to do if you select the last click is just going to give all the attribution to the very last click. If you use data driven, it's going to spread that out, and that's why it's recommended, and that's why we're going to leave it. So we're done on that. So we have imported our goals and we have set the stage. Nonetheless, what we haven't done yet is we haven't set up a remarketing tag. So if this is essentially only good for inbound, we don't want just inbound. What we also want to do is be able to remarket and retarget people. So let's work on that next. So we're going to go into Google Tag Manager, and we're going to have to bounce back into Google Ads here in a second. So let's go to New, and this will be Google Ads Remarketing Tag. And this will live in the Google Ads Remarketing. Right here, we're going to create this conversion linker next. Don't worry about that. So conversion ID. If you create again, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but if you create a new conversion action and you do it from the website and you do this from Google Tag Manager, you're going to get something called a conversion ID for that unique conversion. In this case, if we've imported a goal from our GA4, we don't have to go through this route. We'll just go back here and then we will go to Tools and then we'll go to Google Tag. There it is. And this is what we're after here. So let's select this. We'll click, copy. And then we'll go back to our Google Tag Manager. We'll drop that conversion ID in, and then we are good. Now, triggering is the same thing as like any pixel. What we want to do is we want to place this on all pages. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to click Save, and we should have our Google Ads Remarketing tag right there. Next, what we want to do is we want to set our conversion linker tag. And as I mentioned before, what a conversion linker tag does is it will connect, if somebody does come in contact with multiple ads or on multiple devices, it's going to be able to sort out that data and deliver that data to you. So this is just a real simple click setup. What I do want to do is enable this on all page URLs as well. If you are sending these clicks across domains, so if you have, like a landing page somewhere else and then you push somebody through, this is where you would want to enable your across domains, but I would consult, just some further documentation if you want that. But again, all pages should be this as well. So let's do this. Let's do, so we've created our conversion tag. Sorry, not our conversion tag, our conversion linker tag. That's configuration, Jason. And then we've also created our Google Ads Remarketing tag. So let's do that. I'm going to say added conversion linker tag and remarketing tag. We'll click publish. because that won't affect anything live on the website. So it looks like we are good to go on this. And let's go ahead and test this. So I'm going to go to hacktics.com. We're going to use a Google Tag Assistant because that is the tool that we can now use for this. We'll click Enable, Record, and then we need to refresh the page. And then we see our remarketing tag is in place. So we're good to go. Let's see here. That is that. So I feel good on that front. Let's go back here. Okay, so let's spend some time on our GA4 audiences. And I've been playing with these. What I want to do is show you kind of what we've done before as far as the logic that we've used. And then what I also want to show you is how to use something called predictive audiences as well. That's probably more for the e-com folks in here. So what I won't be able to do is actually create a bunch of audiences because as I showed you, some of the audience sizes on Google are 1,000 or more in order to target them on YouTube and stuff like that. But I want to just show you at least where to go, especially in this new UI. I want to show you how to get there. So again, it's under admin. And then what we need to do is find our audiences. So it's under here. We'll go to audiences. And then let's do, before I get into the custom audiences, because that's the logic that we'll use, these are actually some interesting things. So we have some baked in options with GA4, and this is pretty cool. So purchasers, people who have made a purchase, and again, if you have that integration from your shopping website for something like Shopify, hopefully that naturally or natively integrates those events. But you see that you can have some non-purchasers, so we could, target people who have, who have bought or who have visited but have not bought. So I think you could see that logic. 7-day inactive purchases. These are people, if they've been active. Again, I don't know how much I would chalk up to active in all of this, but I would probably just set those in there. But these predictive are actually pretty cool. So these are really cool. And this is what I'm talking about. Like GA4 is sort of a beast and it's sort of annoying and they're always changing things just like today. But what I have found is the audiences on GA4 are actually pretty cool. And so you can build these audiences, and these won't be enabled for you to use until you have enough, like this says, enough volume of relevant data. So you might not have these might not be available to use right out of the gate, and you might need to come back and visit in time. But like, okay, so you have top spenders, you have people who are churning, or who are about to churn, right? Or users, purchasers churning, meaning they're going to stop using your app. Likely 7-day purchasers. So again, really kind of cool retargeting built into this. And so that's where I would say like play around with these as you get more volume. So let's go back to general. We'll create a custom audience. Let's just create a general rule. And then what we will do is create our exclusion audience. So let's just say that we just want to do something. Let's just say we just want to do a page view. Anybody who's come to our website in the last, let's say 30 days. 30 days is fine. And let's see, what else could we do here? Let's just create this. This is a good one. So we'll click save. I forgot to name this, so edit. We could say all website visitors last 30 days. But if I want to be more specific, all page viewers. Okay, so all page viewers last 30 days. And then what we could do is we could create an audience based upon that event that we created. And that was the story. Okay, so we could say anybody who has opted in the last 30 days. So let's say all story selling opt-ins. I'm going to say event. All story selling opt-ins last 30 days. So remember the name of the event and the time since that event has occurred. So we would do that. So what we could do is we could basically retarget everybody who's been to the website, but excluded people who have actually opted in. So we're only targeting the people who have visited. We're not going to waste our money on those people who have opted in. Now, I want to flip that on its head. Just because somebody opted in to a training doesn't mean they bought. And so what we could do, and what we can do with Kajabi, is we can connect that purchase event from Kajabi to Google Analytics here. And so what I would do sort of as a next round of retargeting, and unfortunately I don't think I'm going to have a purchase event in here. Because I don't think we have that. I don't have the one natively flowing in from Kajabi, but hear me out. What I would do is, okay, you opted into the training, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've bought. And you can do this across everything, right? So what I would do is I'd have a different form of retargeting for the people who've opted in but haven't purchased. Because what I want to do is just continue to reinforce this idea, like one, we can tell a different story along the way. How I would use this on retargeting IQ, and maybe you'll see this after, if you have purchased, what I will do is I will create a retargeting event for the people who started the checkout but didn't buy. And so I can kind of demonstrate our ability to retarget, and then you're like, oh, okay, these guys know how to retarget. And then what we can do is we can just push people back to that checkout page. And so that way I'm only retargeting the people who have hit the checkout page, pushing them back to the checkout page. And I know that I can just run that because I don't have to push them back to the opt-in page, if that sort of makes sense. So I think that is, I think that's about it. Oh, I want to do one more, actually, based upon a specific page URL. So I don't remember story selling framework. Is it just this? I think so. Okay, so, and again, I don't know if this is going to be the name or not, but we're just using it for this. So let's go to new audience. I'm going to do custom audience, and we are going to say story selling page views. So now I'm getting a little bit more specific. Last, 13 days or 40 days. Remember, you're going to have a big audience, so this could be more than 30 days. But if it's like, the past 180 days, I don't know if I want to be retargeting people that long. But what I do want to do is show you how to create a page-specific audience here. And so let's add a new condition. What we want to do is page path. And so let's do page path plus query screen. We will add a filter of contains story selling. Whoops. This is the one that we want. And so story selling page views last 30 days. Okay. So of course there's only one user in this audience, and that would be me, because nobody else has been to this page at all. So what I could be doing here is, I could get rid of this all website visitors, because we have other people who visit our website. But if I'm trying to make this specific to only those people and only this offer, then this would make a little bit more sense as far as, okay, I want to retarget everybody who has visited this page, and then I would exclude the people who had opted in, and that would be one. So that would be kind of like retargeting one level, and then I could have another round of retargeting where I'm retargeting all the people who have opted in for this training but haven't bought. And that's sort of how I would think about this. So, okay. So again, you could spend a ton of time in audiences, and I would definitely recommend that you do. And check this out regularly, because I do think this is probably one of the strongest features of GA4. But now let's take what we've learned, let's go into Google Ads, and let's go ahead and update those UTMs. So let's go back right here. We have deployed our remarketing tag, our conversion tag. I showed you we can grab that from that individual conversion if we make it with GTM, but in this case, we're just going to use our Google tag, and then we've also used that conversion linker tag. We've talked about GA4 audiences as well as predictive audiences, and so let's finish this up by talking about UTMs and getting those added to an ad campaign. Okay, so I'm back inside of Google Ads. Let's go to our campaigns and let's just cook up a new campaign. Let's just see if we can do leads. And I think this is a submit lead form. And again, I don't really like the idea of submit lead form because it's not really a lead form. Well, let's just run a search campaign. Although video does sound more fun, like we were running YouTube ads. So and again, this is not a lead form submission. So I shouldn't have done that. But again, I want to just show you the, demo story selling. Let's just do that. Yeah, let's do search because I do want to show you sort of where we nest in the conversions or the UTMs. So conversions, let's do this. Search, now all of a sudden I'm thinking this is not remarketing. So I need to back up. So we need to create a remarketing campaign. And so one of the remarketing campaigns that I would use, yeah, let's just talk about this. So one of the remarketing campaigns that I would use is display. And so you can retarget people on search. It's called a retargeting list search ad, or RLSA, but we're not going to use that too often. And so let's do display or video. So with display, you have the ability to put these retargeting ads in front of people for if that audience is 100 or more. So this is actually pretty flexible and similar to Facebook. Whereas on YouTube, we're going to have to at least have 1,000 people to this page before we can before we can actually run this ad at them. So let's use display because I think it's going to be Hacktics.com. And then we'll just card this RIQ demo story selling, and then we'll click continue. So let's start a new campaign, and then we would just want to say I would not do this. I would just do this. Quick pointer. Google will take your money. This is like expand my audience sort of stuff. So I would definitely make sure that you're only doing this. Let's do English, more settings. Trying to look for our audiences here. Let's just go to next. Budget. Let's just say that we want to do $20 a day. Conversions. We'll maximize conversions. There's a lot of talk that we could set about this, but we ultimately would want to set conversions because we just did that conversion. So ad targeting. This is where I need to blur out my screen and confirm that it is me. So this happens from time to time. Yes, this is me, Google. Okay, there we go. So audience segments, this is where we actually are able to import the audiences that we just created into this. Nonetheless, I'm doubting we'll be able to actually set this up because we won't be able to serve audiences that don't have enough people. So let's go ahead and see what is pulling in from our custom audiences. And so, yeah, I don't see any of our audiences in here because they haven't pulled in, but this is exactly where we would target these individuals. So, okay, so I did click through to Audience Manager over here just to see if we could serve these, but we can't serve any of these because, again, it's way too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select one of these. Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's just click on any of these. I'll just do web visits, more. Yeah, that's good enough. So our optimized targeting, this is again what I would untick. If we're retarget, so again, if this is good for top of the funnel, it can go find people. But if you're remarketing to people, you don't want Google to expand any of your targeting at all. So let's go to this. I'm not really interested too much in setting these up. These will work. What I want to show you though is this is what I want. So, okay, I kind of skipped ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up another tab and show you how to import these UTMs, because really I just want to show you how to find your audience and kind of talk through this ad group optimization. But then also we need to go back and make sure that we are getting our Google Ads pushed through the right way. So we can set let's just do this. Let's duplicate this, and then we'll go to our settings. Now, Unfortunately, this looks a little bit different. We have to go into our account settings in Google Ads, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab this right here. So what you're going to see is this long string, and what this is going to do is it's going to pass through a lot of parameters. Stick with me here. If you don't want to, just copy and paste. But you can customize this the way that you want it. And so we could say at the campaign level, we just want to pull in the campaign name. But at the content level, we want to pull in the content name, the device model, the network, what network was it? Was it search? Was it display? At the term, we want to do the same, the placement, the position, the match type, the keyword. If you're not too familiar with Google Ads, then I'm not going to get too in the weeds on all of this. These are all the Google Ad parameters that you can pass through. I like to just pass through a lot because, hey, we might as well pass through as much data as possible. And if I don't need to really do anything, then this is a way to do it. So I'm going to copy and paste this, but at the campaign, ad group, and ad level, we do need to import something manually every single time. And I want to show you how to do that. So let's just knock this out. And again, you can change this if you want to, or you can just roll with what I have in here. So I'm going to copy this, and then we're going to go try to find account settings. So let's go to admin, and then go to account settings. And this should be a tracking template. And we'll just drop it right in there, and then we'll click save. So I don't think mine is any different, but so step one, easy. That thing's easy. So that at least is going to pull through a lot of your data. But now you have to go into each campaign and actually update that with a few tweaks. So let me show you how to do that next. All right, so I'm going to go back to this display campaign that I was working on, and let's just use this, I think, for now. So the custom parameter, all I need to do is put an ad right there, and then the value I can name this as. So this would be the story selling ad. And that would be the name of it. If you have different display ad sizes, you might want to be able to do, or you might want to make note of that. If they're dynamic, then you don't have to do that. Let's just see if we can get away with creating this ad. Okay, it doesn't like what we have here. Let's see if that would fit. Images. It's not making me. Let's just try to do any of these. Okay. Maybe it will let us do that. Okay. Okay, I think it liked it. Let's publish this. So now we need to go into the campaign level, and then we also need to go into the ad group level to make sure that our UTM gets added into each one of those. So let's dive into that now. Okay, so I see this is the name of the campaign that we just created, the REQ demo story selling, and we need to remember to disable this after this goes. So let's click on settings. And then what we need to do is type campaign right here, and then we will type the name. So REQ _ story selling. So now we've set our UTMs at the source, the medium, the campaign, and the ad level. And so I think we're good to go there. And we don't want to set the tracking template at the campaign level. We want to set that up as high as possible. And so that kind of at the ad account settings, that's just going to sort of cascade all the way down. And so we just want to go in and tweak the name of each campaign. And so yeah, the only thing that we're missing now is the ad group. And if you can't find the settings here, what we need to do is we need to go to columns, modify columns, and then what we need to search for is custom parameter. And then once that custom parameter is in there, we'll scroll all the way over, and we'll update this, and we'll say add group, and then this will be typically the ad group is the audience. So who are we targeting on this? So we could say, in this case, it would be one of the audiences that we created. Story selling page views, or I could even do this. We could do RT_ story selling page views. And that is that. I want to check one more thing on the campaign level. Oops. Custom parameters. Yeah, you used to change the parameters for the campaign there, but it looks like it's now just nested under settings. So yeah, I feel good about that. So our tracking was under campaign URL options. So there you go. All right, we did it. We set our UTMs at every single level, and you saw like it's not hard. And so every time you do make an ad, you're gonna have to tweak that. Every time you have an ad group, you can tweak that, and then the campaign as well. But like you never have to change anything from below, or never have to change anything from the account settings. And like you saw, what you will be able to do is just like have all of this extra data come through, and it's really nice. So like you can see what keyword was used to get the conversion, where your placement was if you're using search. And again, this is more top of funnel related. It won't be so much remarketing or retargeting, but you should still see a lot of that data coming in. So I think that's it, folks. Like I said, this is not an all-encompassing how to run ads on every single platform, but I do hope that you have found a lot of value in just setting up your retargeting and your remarketing. And hey, if you need help beyond this, if you need coaching, or if you are looking for somebody to just do this for you, just reach out to us. I'm sure that you will see some contact form somewhere on this course. But that brings me to an end. I'm really excited to have this done. And I'm really excited that I don't think it actually took that long to get you all the way through this. So like if you have any questions, what we'll do is I'm sure that we'll have a spot for you to be able to comment and ask questions. But like you said, if you need further help, if you need somebody to just build this out for you, if you're looking for a partner to just help you scale your business, reach out, be more than happy to talk, and then hopefully we could have potentially a friendship and partnerships. I should say I'm friends. I've had one client for a very, very, very long time, and I would call him a friend at this point. It's fun to help him win. We're making money, he's making money, and everything is going well as far as like that business relationship is. His customers are winning as well. So it's win-win-win, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So anyways, okay, that brings me to a conclusion of Module 6. And I hope this was very helpful. And like I said, we might have more UI updates here and there, but ultimately the naming should be the same. Just we might have to click around in a few different directions. And so just be aware of that, but just know like that happens from time to time, but just know that you can have the confidence to approach this and you can figure this out. So, all right, thank you very much. And we'll see you in another training or perhaps in a different module. All right, thanks guys. Bye.